Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today is day 2 of our Radar Team series. We're going to be smashing them out. Hope you guys find your teams. Remember, if it's not in today's episode, it'll be in one for the next couple of days. Hope you enjoy. Joe, it's day 2. We're like going up and up and up the hill. We're almost at the peak, and then it's zoom all the way down. How you feeling?
Yeah, good, man. I still feel like we're well and truly nowhere near the peak. I think we're just still at the tip of the iceberg. There is so much still to come. The pracky games are around the corner. The day after tomorrow. I can't even wait. I can't believe it. But I guess before that, we got to look at these teams, man. We've got a lot of teams to get through. So let's not dilly-dally. Last episode was a long one. Let's try and get it moving a bit for our viewers. They want to see their teams, mate. They want to see their team. We'll start off with Botan's team. We're having a look here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 primo team. It's fairly standard, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anything glaring to you, Big J, that you can see?
12 primos is fantastic. I think that's kind of going to be the norm this year. So well done for them. I think, actually, just looking at the team, it seems very, very well-rounded. It's these sides that you kind of get deceived a little bit by, the lack of projected score. You think, 1,800 plus, hey, it's going to be fantastic. Whereas this team, I can't really see any super glaring holes. Like, no Dacos kind of is interesting. I think he might end up being a must-have by the end of the practice matches, and you'll have to try and fit him in. He has tried to pick up the more expensive midfielders instead of going like your cheaper Titch and Green options, which is okay. You're kind of locking in right now. He's got 5 out of the best, like 8 or 9 midfielders, so that's fantastic for him. Tuke Miller is definitely a watch given his hamstring issues, but yeah, just kind of for a team that uses a lot of money in the midfield with its premiums, it's helped to actually make the rest of the field not look too bad. Glaring admissions probably Yo from the side, but I'm not sure how you'd swing that really. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, you'd have to downgrade one of these. You'd have to downgrade one of these primo options here. Yeah, probably one too many primos. He's probably fading him. Probably doesn't think he's going to be a great option. Personally, I think that the forward line is a bit weak in terms of having 2 key forwards on the field. If you should know, guys, by now that we like non-forward forwards in the forward line. Try saying that very fast, multiple times in a row. So yeah, Oscar Allen, I think he's going to give you the best scoring, as is Ben King. I think King is definitely more worthwhile on the bench. But then again, if you're going to have a key forward on the bench, you could have a Van Rooyen or a Green, who you've already got as key forwards on the bench as well. So probably I think the forward line is where it's his weakest. And maybe if he was to go down from one of these guys down to a Sheed or down to a Titch or a Green, could free up some money to then bump Allen up to another mid-pricer. Someone, maybe even like a Zeeble if the role is good, or a Ben Long, maybe even a Flanders or a Windhager, anything like that. I think they're going to give you more reliable scoring than an Allen. But regardless, I think a lot of the good rookies are in there as well. So all in all, good team, Botan. Thank you very much. Can we move on to the next one, Big J?
Yep.
Beautiful. So we have Big U. Big U's team. As I zoom in, it gets a bit blurrier. But we have Dawson Young 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And a Nick Martin, who is a very nice one, Big U. I love Marto. But a guy playing on the wing for 436K, is there better use of money for someone in a more Supercoach friendly role? Perhaps there might be. But I like that you've got McLean at F6, no key forwards here, which is excellent. I'm a big fan of that. Grundy, obviously some question marks over him, whether or not he's going to be awesome or not. You've gone 5 deep in the mids, and I think each of these guys are all sensational options. I love Cripper and I love Parrish. I think my views on these guys are all well known. And you've gone Dawson Young. So again, you're paying up for some players that are going to be really good in the back line. Goda is a question mark. over whether or not he's going to be, the best scoring option. But really, I like the look of this team. He's only got 1, 2, 3. He's only got 3 rookies on the field. Phillips isn't really. I guess
he's played 16 games. He's not a rookie.
Yeah, I know, but for that price, and then McLean. So I think overall, this is quite a solid team, man.
Yeah, no, I really like it. Negating a little bit of that. You've only got 3 real premiums in the forward line with some good mid-price options there. I think Nick Martin was the breakout player from last year, but I doubt he'll be the same for this year. So he's one to kind of sideways, either to a Cunnington if you can, downgrade to another player, upgrade to somebody if you have some money. Cornelio's just kind of out of reach probably for this team. But, yeah, overall, not too bad. I'd be looking to try and get maybe a Caulfield in if you can, and there's no Jinby either. So the thing with these players, and Chesser. So Chesser's pretty easy. You can swap out someone on the bench. It's not a big deal. But when a rookie's basically being talked about the entire preseason as, hey, he's going to play, he's playing really well, whatever, it's actually, a glaring omission not to have them in the team. So he's probably one that I'm looking at. 12 premiums is fantastic. The back line, I think this year is going to be the weaker position on field. So the fact that you've done that, still have 2 keepers in the team, it's not like some teams we've had today or yesterday where they'll have 1 premium or no premiums in the back line and you kind of set back even further. So, yeah, really nice team. Must be my cousin, big U, and I'm big J. So, yeah, good job.
Very nice. I like it. We now get to Terry. You want to start us off, Big J?
Yep. So Doherty, Young in the back line, so that's 2. And then 4 in the midfield, that makes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So just off the bat, the forward line looks fantastic. We have spoken a little bit about Allen and Bruce. Personally, I think the role players do okay. It just depends on if they're best 22. So in regards to Bruce, you can sideways and things like that. Even if it's like a Philippou, because he's getting talked about quite a lot, or downgrade to another player who's playing. Or even you could bring up McLean. So go McLean to Bruce and then bring in like another midfield gun, that kind of thing. Just a wait and see with that position. I think you've got the awesome foursome in the forward line. So the 4 guys you probably should have who are undervalued or very, very good for their price. Joe's kind of spoken a little bit today on Allen. Maybe try and look to downgrade to a King. Just kind of positioning, being cheaper, that kind of thing, if you want to. Darcy Marshall's okay. There's some question marks on Darcy's scoring with Jackson in the team. Last year, he swapped a lot with Meek and, made him have those sub 100 scores. And it looks like him and Jackson are going to be actively swapping even further. So just really one to watch out for there. The 4 midfield premiums are okay. I understand the logic between buying the most too expensive just because you've got a triple trade almost to bring them in. But there is guys who present a little bit more value in there. So just, see what happens. Backline, backline I'm happy with. No worries.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, Doherty, definitely you're selecting him because of that the midfield minutes that he's going to have, and he showed at the back end of the year last year when he had those games in the midfield that he was capable of some big scores. So you're looking to select. So you're probably expecting Doherty to be the one that maintains their value the most compared to the others, and I actually agree with that. So that's perfectly fine. And Young, who I think a lot of people are really getting on with news that he's going to get more kick-ins.
No Dacos is interesting.
No Dacos is an interesting one. Yes, I agree. I think no McLean is a really having McLean in the midfield is fine. I get, but I'd much prefer McLean right here. There are definitely better options than having someone who might not be best 22. At F6, and then my opinion is known on Allen. I wouldn't mind going down further if you're looking for value. You're going down further from Darcy. Anything to get your key forwards. I'm really anti key forwards. I hope that message has been hammered home. But I like the rest of the bench. I think the bench is all good. A lot of very viable options. that are correct. You've even got Constable in there, and that's really good too. So, I think Constable is one that you might even be able to field, given if his role is really good in the Pracky game. So keep an eye out for those. Thank you very much for your team. We come to Kotzi. This is Kotzi's team, called the Misfits. He's gone Sard, Ridley, Bond, Steele, Green, Titch. That's 2 + 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And Zeeble, who I think a lot of people are hoping could end up being a keeper if he can reclaim that role. If not be a keeper, then at least be a great upgrade, stepping stone to someone else. He's gone Zeeble, Sheed, Hopper, Yo. So he's got the big ticket, I suppose, mid prices in the team. He's got McLean at F6. I think that's definitely the most optimal way with the Fantastic Four primos. You're going to start English. If you're ever going to have English, having at the start, as we said yesterday, is the only way to go. So you're hoping that he can keep playing games and not do a hammy in the first quarter, which would obviously really suck for your scoring and really be behind a lot of people. Sard, upside, averaged 110 without Williams. Ridley, you're banking on him to really recapture some of that form. And obviously from the news that we might be playing a possessive sort of game style, I would definitely think that a guy like Dacos is probably safer at around that price point, not only because you sort of know exactly what role he's going to have in the midfield, but also you're sort of protected against all of his ownership is over 45%. So if he goes big and Ridley, is still plugging away at the pace that he was at last year, then it could really hurt you double as much. But I do like that you've paid up for a lot of the key important rookies. You've got Ashcroft, Phillips. You've even got Hewitt, who I think is a fair shout as well. Johnson, Baker, Davey, Drury, Constable, Cowan. Yeah, but the bench looks fine. I think overall it's a very, very solid team. Thoughts, Big J?
Yeah. No, I definitely feel the same. It really seems like there's a couple of players in there, like you've spoken about Ridley, who are preseason watch players, but outside of that, looks fantastic. I really like the amount of cash in the bank too. Being as flexible as what you are, you don't really have to change the structure as much if you want to bring in like a Jinby, that kind of thing, players who have been talked about a lot. You can go like a Wilmot if he's not named up to him, or potentially a Cow and that kind of thing. So yeah, really good team. Just kind of wait and see. Would have been probably even better if you had like Sheed up to another premium, but obviously cash is a big issue there. So yeah, really good team. The only thing I'd be worried about is the back line at the moment with basically 3 rookies on field. Goda did play a game. He does look set to play a bit of, best 22 time, but it's not an established player like a Phillips type or a Caulfield or someone who's mature age body who's playing a role. So the back line's a little bit sketched that way. And Zeeble 50-50 on the pick. He didn't take a lot of kickouts in the intra-club game, so we're just waiting to see kind of what he does in the preseason games.
Agreed. Thank you, Kotzi, for your team. We now move to CW2276. Very
maybe
interesting
like number or something,
Yeah, it might be Commonwealth CW 2276.
Never know. So we just docked someone. Watch out.
Sorry. But yes, this is the team. Gorneria. Love the name as well, mate.
In the back line, we got Stewart and Doherty, so pretty good there. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 12 premiums is really good. Maybe not overpaying, but paying top dollar for the 2 big guys in the back line. Something we haven't seen as much today, but it's negated a little bit by having Yo and Caulfield and stuff. I would have loved to see like one of them plus like a Doherty maybe downgrade and then getting Dacos and Young in. I think that's a fantastic back line, but right now you're doing really well. You're just kind of not picking the most profitable, I guess, in the most picked players. So something to watch out for. Maybe a downgrade is in order in that position. The midfield is really, really good too. I'm not sure about. So last year, we spoke about it yesterday, but last year, a lot of us got hit with a McDonald, with a Ward, that kind of thing on the field. So you just kind of got to be careful with, yes, these rookies on field look fantastic, but having 3 of them is probably not as advisable. If you could somehow bring in another mid-pricer or do a bit of a swap, that kind of thing, to get one of these guys off field, it's beneficial for you there. Witts and Marshall is fine. It might be the ruck line that I'm running with, just depending on injuries, that kind of thing. And then you've got the awesome foursome and McLean and King. So, yeah, overall, really, really solid team. More of just a preseason watch, that kind of thing, and some considerations with the backline premiums and your kind of midfield outside of the 4 premiums you've got in. Going the 2 major Dogs players is very interesting because you're kind of hamstringing yourself a little bit in terms of captaincy options, because you wouldn't pick McRae VC and then Bont captain, for example, because they both play in the same team. So just something to kind of watch out for there.
Absolutely, I agree. I like, that you're paying up here for the ruck line. It's set and forget. But if you start paying up a lot everywhere, you end up stuck with this having a key full forward on your team at F6, which is...
You hate him, Joe. Why do you hate all these key forwards?
I hate it, and the viewers should know I hate it, and they send the teams anyway. Guys, I believe that you guys have tough skin, and I'm speaking from the heart, and I want you guys to know I want what's best for you. Believe me. And Ben King, I don't think is best for you. He is dessert. He's too sweet. You're not supposed to have sugar. No sugar. And I think Stuart Doherty, as I said before, I think Doherty definitely is a great selection for the price, because I think he's going to maintain that value. But more question marks about Stuart after he came back, after he got suspended for all those games after he destroyed Prestia last year off the ball. Geelong found out how to play without him, and his scoring after he came back from his suspension was he averaged in the 90s for the rest of the home and away season. And then when you factor in how he played in the finals, he averaged in the 80s altogether. So you could well and truly go a Stewart down to a Dacos or a Young, someone who is, very highly owned and looking to, outperform their price point. And you can use that money to then maybe move on a King or upgrade one of these guys up. So you can free up 100K, and then you can get like a mid-pricer somewhere here instead of King, someone that I think is probably the one that you don't want. I think that's probably the one big thing I would change, to be honest. You move on us. You get a different primo, but you also improve your scoring on field. When everyone is fielding 4 primos and a mid-pricer and McLean at F6, I think they're going to be weeks where having King at F6 is going to hurt you instead. Other than that, I think you've got a lot of the relevant rookies. So, thanks for your team, CW. Hope we didn't dox you there. All right. So now we get to the first of the split screenshot teams. This is Bakes with his team. The more I zoom in, the more fuzzier it gets. I think I'll stop that there. We got 1 in the back line. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
6.
Oh, wait, 6. What did I get up to?
6. Because I only have 1 in the back line. Yep, only one player in the back line.
8, 9, 10. 11 primos. 11 primos, okay. So that would mean that he's definitely going more mid-pricer. Well, we've got Meek, Hopper, No Sheed. Where's the money being spent then? Yo, Clark, Stocker. Okay, so we've gone 3 mid-prices in the back line. Stocker, first time I've seen Stocker. First time we've seen Clark today as well. Clark's an interesting shout. The interview that he did is that he's been training predominantly with the midfield and also having a bit of half-back time as well. So he's
that's kind of like the go-to word during the preseason. I'm playing half-back, that's it.
Everyone and their mum is playing a halfback this year. It's actually ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I reckon if I was to go to some random club and be like, yeah, halfback, no worries. How many rookies you got? Go to. He's got. I think this midfield is very good. I think this midfield is awesome. Gone one extra primo in the mid, so you don't have a guy like Sheed. But that's fine. That's the decision that that's the decision you've made. You don't think Sheed's up to it. I'm not sure about the Meek pick. For me personally, I think Meek is probably a major question mark. And Philippou, by reports, is playing predominantly in the forward line, and they're really going to need him in the forward line with their lack of with all of the injuries happening over there. So we do prefer non-forward forwards, as you guys are aware by now. So other than that, yeah, I don't know. I think Meek is the biggest option, is the biggest thing, and I think having one less primo, probably not the best. Having 11 primos, you set yourself, I suppose, behind the pack in terms of you have to trade these primos in. The aim of the game is to have a full primo team as quickly as possible, and if you've got speculative mid prices like a Meek, who's going to be sharing ruck time, might not be number one ruck, might have games where he's not even rucking at all. He might be in the VFL because of the tough competition at Hawthorn. So if you're picking mid prices, it's because you're really banking on them and you're forecasting them to well and truly make you 150 to 200k. So I think this team is a bit too risky for my taste personally. If you could somehow get a Meek up to some, if you're going to go value, go full value, go down to Draper. If you're really looking for value, or you pick someone who is with proven scoring history and is most likely going to be the number one ruckman without as many question marks, personally speaking.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really like the team. I think there's some probably glaring omissions in there and some things really to look at during the preseason. The midfield and the forward line is fantastic. I don't mind it too much. I know Joe hates the key forwards, but I think Ben King has a place in our teams a little bit, kind of just being that number one guy. Maybe not hugely proven scorer, but does have that super high ceiling. Couple of hundreds in the first 6 games or so, and then hey presto, here's a premium. Meek, as Joe was saying, is probably the glaring. Well, one of the ones you really have to look out for. Training reports are saying that him and Reeves are going to be sharing the ruck time, so you don't want to be picking the number 2, especially at 400k. If he was like 150k and he was set best 22, he's going to play forward but play ruck. But at that price, no worries. 430k is really tough. For 30k more, you're getting Darcy Cameron. For 50k more, you're getting like a Grundy type. It's pretty rough there. Just going to the back line, I don't mind it. I think Clark and Stock are a bit ambitious. Have a look at the preseason games, but I think a Caulfield's going to push Stringer out of his spot in your team. And then Hunter Clark, I don't even know if he's best 22 fit yet. He'll be best 22 if he's fit, but I'm not sure how he's going in the preseason. It's a really left field option, but I'm not sure what else you do with the cash at the moment. Normally it's like hey, if you don't have someone and you've got 330k, you go to a Yo, whereas you've already got Yo and now you've got 330k. So just kind of wait and see in the preseason if someone pops up. That's it for me.
Yeah, cool. No worries. We'll then move on to Callum Thomas's team. I love it when the team is on one page. It's wonderful. Guys, you should watch the video that Big J did a while ago about how to screenshot your team. It will really make our lives a lot easier, believe me.
The backline's really good. So Sicily Dacos is 2, and then 5 in the midfield makes 7. Marshall makes 8, and then 2 in the forward line. So that's only 9-10. 9-10. So I look at this team and I feel like you're putting your hopes and dreams in a lot of players. The amount of cash you've spread across the field a lot isn't bad, but I think you're putting your hopes and dreams into a lot of players who might not necessarily be keepers for the year. And I think there's, yes, you can get these guys as a stepping stone, but not at the expense of your premiums. So you let's say you've got 10 premiums in there, negating Draper. I haven't included him as a premium. He could be, but that's kind of the story of this team. So you've got 10 players on field who you believe are going to be best 22 or close enough with Tom Mitchell, which is fantastic. But there's teams that have 12 premiums on field that have a similar structure to you without the glaring kind of holes you've got there. There's some real value in that forward line that a Horne-Francis downgrade to, you know, a Ben King or a rookie or someone else, even just like a Flanders, could put Zeeble and Ben Long up to these players, and your team would look so much better than what it is now. So maybe kind of look at cutting out somebody. I'm going to say Horne-Francis, after his intra-club match, he did not look very good at all. Looked really disinterested, looked like he wanted to come back to North because he realised, hey, Port Adelaide aren't going to suck my toes. But yeah, that'd probably be the thing I'm looking at. The Draper pick's fine, but the only problem with him at the moment is if it doesn't work out, you've almost got to change your team structure to be able to bring in someone else just because of the awkward price. It's not like a Witts or Nick Nat or someone who you're banking on them having a good season. You can sideways to another premium. There's no one really available at Draper's price at the moment.
Yeah, it really is an all or nothing gamble. And that's the reason why, one of the major reasons why I ended up moving off of Draper. You can't win the cash in the first week, but you can certainly lose it in the first week. If you have a really bad starting team and you're forced into a position where after round one, you have to change the entire structure of your team. You're using valuable trades. Yes, I know we've got 36 trades, which seems like a lot, but if you're using like a boost right off the bat in week one to make, you know, and then another boost in week two to make a whole bunch of corrections, you're really set behind the 8 ball and behind the pack. And it's really, really hard to catch up if you're really too far behind. So Draper's one that you're really hoping can break out. I've seen a lot of people talking about the comparison between him and Gawn. Gawn at this age as well, at this season, equivalent, suddenly exploded. And I can understand why people are hoping the same for Draper. I would personally, I think the team would be a lot better if rather than having a Weddle at D6, you had someone like McKenna. I think McKenna is probably one of the big omissions from this team. But it's something that can easily be fixed because you've spent so much money in mid-prices. I think Taranto is also another one that probably might need to be in the team given how highly owned he is. But if you really think that he's overrated and he's a butcher and you're really anti-Taranto, well, that's up to you. But I would definitely consider that there's better value options out there, better use of your money than a Horne-Francis. You could go down to any other sort of mid-pricer who is going to be having mid-time, like maybe a Flanders. If Tuke Miller's out for a long time, I think Flanders stocks go up a lot. Or even a Windhager maybe, who's going to be playing midfield minutes. Mitchie Owens, you never know. Like there are a few mid-prices in the forward line. You could go to a King or an Oscar Allen, but you know my views on that. Don't do it. And then you can use your money to get, you know, a Weddle up to someone else. So all in all, I think you've got a lot of the good rookies as well, which is really important. So you're well and truly on the way to having a decent team. Thank you, Callum.
The one thing I'd say about in this team about downgrading a Horne-Francis versus a Long or Zeeble is the fact that they're both Long and Zeeble are mature age players. They've been in the system for a long time, and they both play very Supercoach friendly roles. So if Long gets his half-back role, that's fantastic. Off the half-back last year, he scored really big. Zeeble as well, a couple of years ago, scored fantastic off the half-back. Whereas Horne-Francis is trying to break into an already established, very strong midfield, who there will be games where he drops a 60. And if he doesn't get the attention, like we said at the start, he tends to fall off quite a lot. So downgrade him versus two guys already at a similar price. It's definitely worthwhile there.
Yeah, also I love Callum. Callum Mills is a great player. but he's going to have a lot of changing roles. So he might give you a game where he's playing predominantly in the back line as a sweeper, as a goalkeeper. So again, probably one where you might be able to find someone more reliable for less money, maybe even the Green, who is going to be playing predominantly in the midfield as a contested ball. But thanks, Callum. We now get to Corey Murphy, part 1. He's got Sicily, Stewart, Dacos. All right, nice. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 primo team. Oh, Fergus Green on the forward line, F6. You know what I'm going to say, don't you, Corey? You know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it. But he's got Cornelius and Toronto, which is great. Jim B. Ashcroft Phillips, that's fine. Constable Colin, Wilmot at D6. Okay. And that's the problem that you have by paying a lot. Okay, so you've paid up big time in the back line for 2 600K players. You then pay big up for these two guys, Oliver and Mutuk. You're paying up big there. So but you don't have infinite cash, right? And then you pay up big for these three. So there are sacrifices. You end up getting weak somewhere, and where you're weak is your D6 and your F6. I think primarily is where you end up weak, and it's something that can easily be rectified. You might. I've spoken about Stewart already before. I think a guy like Young, who is 100K cheaper, would certainly be able to match him for performance. I think personally. Might not have the insane ceiling that Stewart is capable of, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of that early on in this season, especially if he continues playing that same role that he had after he came back from his suspension. You can go down, free up some cash. I think, like I said before, having a guy like McKenna not play in your back line is probably a big. He's definitely one of the best value options. A mature age player who fits a need with a lot of speed. And he looks really good in the match sim as well, in the integral up. So he actually looks better than Wilmot. Wilmot might not even be best 22. And if he is, he's playing a wing role. I know I'd much prefer a player who's playing a half back as opposed to someone who's playing on a wing. Turk has got hamstring constraints. Clary had some finger problems. No Bond is really interesting. You probably are of the opinion of Swizz. You've had some premonition that Bond's going to do a hammy in the first quarter in the first match or something like that. So, look, up to you, man. Your call. But I think you've got a lot of the rest of the midfield looks really good. And, yeah, you got to do something about this. This is no bueno. You can't have a key forward, especially a key forward, playing for Hawthorn, who are earmarked to be bottom 4. He might not have a lot of supply. Like having a guy like King is one thing. Someone who has who's a mature age player. He's not going to be the sole fiddle. He's not going to be the single player. He's going to have the support of Chol and Casbolt, and he's got a great midfield supplying the ball to him. So he's going to get some good supply. So I know key forwards in general are a no for me, but there are levels to these bezels when it comes to these key forwards, and I'd have Green not very high up on that list. So if you could somehow get a McLean at that spot there, would be really good. Over to you, Big J.
Yeah, you brought up some really interesting points there. I feel like this team's kind of just a wait and see. Looking at the forward line, no Rosie's pretty big. Considering how hard he's been training the teams, training the house down. Maybe there's just some money constraints, that kind of thing. But he'd be one who I'm really looking for. This is a guy who's valued at 90, and you're going to be expecting like 100, at least 100 plus from him every week. So, definitely one there. Joe's kind of given you his verdict on Green. I'm fairly the same. They're really good at on the bench players. So key forwards like that, guys who are best 22, you'd think anyway, who are going to be playing bench on your team, no worries. But on the field, kind of tying up between one of those three options. They're not established players. They're not even like a Josh Bruce who's supposed to be, playing some intercept defender role. You could be picking between 3 players scoring a 30 every week. So it's kind of something to look forward to there. Just scroll back, Joe. So the defense is fine. Joe's kind of given his views on someone like a Stewart downgrade. I agree with him there. But as we've said with other people today, you're picking the best 2 guys, or 2 locks at least, for the top 6. So if that's what you're feeling like, you want to lock them in, I have no troubles with that. Just don't let it affect kind of other positions on field and the amount of money you've got to spend around everywhere else. Yo at D4 is fine. Bose is definitely a preseason watch player. You can come in and downgrade him. There might be some better options there, even to downgrade him to like a Jinby in your team at the moment. And as Joe said, try and get McKenna in. Although, there you go. Put him up, maybe Jinby up, and then you can grab in like a Flanders or somebody in that midfield. I'm really wary of having too many midfield rookies this year, as we've said with other people. So having 3 on field really doesn't feel great for me. Guys can get rested pretty easy, even though they're established. Well, even though you'd think they're going to be established best 22 players. You just want to make sure that, hey, you don't get burnt, or at least negate how much you can get burnt. Overall, I don't mind the premium picks. Joe's kind of talked about Oliver and Miller there, so I won't over-talk those again. But it really feels like this is a team that, we talk about having 3 or 4 spots filled in the back line, 3 or 4 spots filled in the forward line. Feels like this team's kind of one who's trying to push that a little bit further and have 3 spots filled instead of 4 as keepers for the team, which can lead to big problems down the track. Sometimes it's good to kind of fill out a position a bit more and pick up these guys who are set and forget type players. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We come to Lucas with a nice, beautiful screenshot. I love it. Well done. Well done, Lucas. I love it.
But you didn't show us the cash, Lucas. So next time you send in someone you send in your team, put how much money, because you could have $6 million left and we just wouldn't know. I mean, that's obviously not the case, but in the back line, Stewart Doherty's great. Dacos is really good too. So 3 there. 4 in the midfield. 5. I'm not going to count Lyset as a keeper. So 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 primos. You could make a case for 12. This team's got a few kind of breakout type players. So your LDU, which is great. Dacos, obviously, people are assuming he's going to be a best 22 keeper in your team, and especially in the defense. So that's really good too. Overall, I don't mind it. I just feel like there's probably too many rookies on field. So this is a team similar to previous years that you'd call guns and rookies almost. Have kind of 3 premiums and a mid-pricer if you can, and then like 2 rookie-priced players. You kind of see that across the line in the whole team, really. Whereas I think now we said 2 rookie-priced players on field. It's really kind of gone down to 1, just for job security, just for sub-rule risk, things like that. So I'd be kind of looking to have maybe like a Weddle on the bench and bring in someone else if you can. 3 rookies on field isn't great because you're going to get really hurt by the teams that have 2 or even potentially 1. Especially considering you're not, you haven't gone super uber primo in like with LDU and like a hopper type deal as well. Lyset is really a wait and see. I think this team was kind of brought out before the preseason practice match. So sorry about that. Lyset's kind of a very much watch and wait and see. Port's ruck line's pretty sketch. And if he has a bad game, he's probably going to get kicked out of the team because of the amount of talent they've got coming through. So you kind of have to be careful of that. You'd hate for your ruckman not to play in a week and then you get a donut because you can't afford anyone else. Forward line's not too bad. So no Cornelio, as we've spoken before, the awesome foursome. But if Zeeble keeps his halfback role, the one he had 2 years ago that he hasn't really shown us at the moment, he could definitely be an option, but it's a huge wait and see for me. What about you, Joe? Oh, and rookies on field, you've got enough money to spread around, which is fantastic. If you've only got like 2 or 3K left over, you'd be a little bit worried because of the amount of guys who are 117K, who potentially you'd have to bring in a 123, and Montgomery doesn't really give you that option there either. So Yeah, off to you, Joe.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this person does not have a lot of cash left in the bank, which is why he's got a guy like Rhett Montgomery in the back line. I don't think people are willingly picking him because he's a worthwhile selection. I think people like to pick him because he's a 102K base bid price rookie. There are a lot of genuine options, even a guy like Wagner, who had his hamstring complaints. If you want, there are there's Constable, there's Chesser. These guys are mid defenders as well, who are 123K rookies, who I think rookie priced, who I think are probably more likely than a Wagner to play more games as well, given that they have less injury, I suppose, clouds over their heads. No Marshall, I think, is a really interesting selection. He seems to be a mainstay in just about almost everybody's teams. So by reports, he's still going to be the number 1 ruckman for that price and the scoring output that he's able to that he's shown in the past. And he is the primo ruck for St Kilda. I think definitely it's very risky going with a Lycett instead of him. And it's really not that much to go up from Lycett to Marshall. Marshall's only like 505K. So, you only need not even 70,000, roughly 70,000 to get to Marshall. So it's something that you can do if you were to move off a Zeeble, for example, or if you were to maybe go from a Stewart down to a Young, for example, or but you are paying up. And you haven't gone budget in terms of Green and Titch in the midfield either. You're instead opting for an LDU. And Green and Titch, I think they're both cheaper than LDU, so you can free up some money that way as well. Overall, I think this team is still quite solid. 11 primos, and you're hoping Lycett to be a primo and Zeeble to be a primo. So a lot of hope in this team. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is the time to have some hope and then keep a real close eye on how these players perform in the bracket games.
Yeah, I think not having Tom Mitchell or Green is a very interesting thing as well. Kind of 2 players who've been touted as really underpriced for their value, who potentially could be pushing into that top 10 keeper market in the midfield. So picking someone else over them is you're going against the pack pretty hard there.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much, Lucas. We now get to Lulu. Lulu has left us with $66,500. Very generous of you, Lulu. Let's see. Where are you going? Oh, look at that. 4 in the back. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 primos. 12 primo team. But Lulu seems to hate me because they've got both Allen and King and Philippou in the forward line. And Green and Van Rooyen. Are there any other key forwards that haven't been selected?
There's no Combin. If you had Philippou instead of Combin, then I think we'd have like the quad pick.
The quaddy.
What's is there a 5 version? The penta pick? I'm not sure.
I have no idea. I'm not a betting man. But if I was one, I'd be betting that Lulu's trying to get up in my grill here. But look, I'm not going to say nothing. All right. Marshall, Lycett. Yep, we've spoken enough about Lycett. Took, Hammy, watch and see. Bont, superstar. Cripps, superstar. Titch, value. Hopper, Ashcroft, McLean. Okay, so you got McLean over there in the midfield and Phillips. Okay. Those 3 are definitely good for fielding. Darcy Wilmot at D6. Much prefer if that was McKenna. Cowan, keep an eye to see if he plays round 1. But you've got both Young and Dacos. I love that. No Yo. You are one of the rare teams that that doesn't have Yo there. Oh my God! If you were to have Yo,
what are you doing?
McKenna, I know. Imagine if you have that 4, and then you had like Yo McKenna, D5, D6. That would be the best looking defense I've ever seen in my life. But at the expense of the forward line, where you've got Allen and King, where other people might have Toronto and a mid-pricer. So you do well at the back line, but you're coughing up a lot of points in the forward line. That's probably where you might have overpaid in defense, especially where a lot of value is, like your Caulfields, your Yo, Bose might be, Long might be. There's a lot of options in the back line. McKenna as well that you don't have. So there are a lot of options in the back line that you haven't opted for, and instead you've decided to go very key forward heavy in the forward line. I would probably swap that around in terms of the money where it's being spent.
Yeah. As Joe said, I really like this back line. I think paying up at least for the two well-known kind of top 6 guys is fine if it doesn't hurt your other positions on field. So, yeah, just have to wait and see with that. As Joe said, if Yo was in this team and you had like a Jinbi somewhere else or things like that, I think he'd be fantastic. I think he'd be pretty close to winning Supercoach, but we'll just wait and see. I don't mind the Miller pick. Obviously, we've come out some information today talking about his hamstrings, how he's going to miss the 2 practice games. It is Took Miller. He has been doing very well in the preseason, so maybe he's overtrained a little bit, that kind of thing. But it is kind of a big red flag there. There's some other options around the price who may start off a lot better. So we'll just have to wait and see for the practice games. 4 premium mids is fine. And I really like what you've done in the midfield with your more established players. So we don't have like a Baker or someone else in the midfield rookie list. You've got Phillips, who should be really good scoring. You've got McLean, who, people are playing on field in the forward line. And then Ashcroft as well. So you're not hurting yourself as much there as other people who have got like 2 or 3 kind of unknown players. Marshall's fine. Lysette, you've spoken about being a bit sketch in the position. Yeah, the previous team with us, I went on about Lysette, so kind of have a look with that. What you're thinking there, but it provides too much risk for reward there. Dunkley, Cogs, Rosie's fine. A Taranto would be fantastic in this team. Obviously, we've kind of spoken about the key forwards and negating your risk a little bit with them. They will go big, but they might have some stinker games. And that's out of King, who I think would probably be the more consistent scorer out of all of them. That there's a lot of risk there. What I'd love to do with this team, if I had, control, I'd love to try and put a Yo in the back line, potentially downgrade a Cripps or a Miller to someone like a Tom Green to fill up some more cash. That you can splurge on getting a Lysette off the field. That you can splurge on upgrading like an Allen or a King to a Flanders, or maybe not King, but let's say Allen Philippou to a Flanders Callahan type deal. That with your DPP, you can swap a McLean to the forward line, put a Callahan in, go Oscar Allen up to Flanders, and your team's instantly looking a lot better. That's kind of my feelings there.
Awesome. Thank you, Lulu. And then we get to Josh Turnbull. Thank you again for the 1 screenshot take. I love to see this.
I think Josh might be our last team for today.
Yeah,
so
if
you haven't covered your team, guys, in today's video, it is in the queue, and we will be covering it in Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays team reveals. So keep watching for those.
A lot of money in the bank.
It's a lot of money.
121,500. That's a lot of money. That's
an interesting team to finish on if you have a look at some of the other selections in the team.
1, 2, Sammy Taylor. Hello.
Yeah.
Quite
a bit autofill, but we'll see.
Okay, so I don't even know. Is he a primo or 2.5 maybe? 3, 4, 5, 6. Holmes, Jai Clark, Winhager. Yo, where's Phillips? Where's Ashcroft? Yo, this team, Josh, you've really ended here on a curveball and a half. Marshall, TDK, Dunkley, 5, straight to 5. Henry, Jai Amos, McLean, and King. Wow. If you're going for originality, you've nailed it, mate. Jindy, Weddle, Philippou. So how many primos is that then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 burner fighty primos right off the bat. You're probably hoping a Taylor's a primo. You're probably hoping that Holmes he has to score like 95 to be good. You got Hopper, Winhager, Jai Clark. Yeah, it's a fair shout, but at the expense of Phillips, Ashcroft, McLean. Where's McLean? Oh man, there's a lot of even cheaper players that are very likely to make money and to be best 22 that are not selected here. Okay, no, you got McLean at F5. Sorry, I apologize. You got McLean there. Henry, I don't know. Is this guy a Geelong supporter, perhaps? Jai Amos is a key forward. I don't like it. Ben King is a key forward. He belongs here, not there. You know my views by now. TDK, I don't know. Pittonet's playing. Pittonet is healthy. I don't understand the Tom DeConnick pick personally. If you look in value, again, there's Draper. He's not too far from Darcy Cameron. Again, all the talk. I think people don't seem to understand how important the ruck line is. And this could just be a placeholder. They could be telling us, I've got no idea what I'm doing in the ruck line. The ruck line really is that sketch this year. But yeah, I don't even know where to begin. Quaynor is an interesting shout. For that price, he's doing everything he can to have as few rookies on field as possible, right? He really is trying to do everything he can. He doesn't want a single rookie on the field. But you got Clark, still a rookie. Jai Amos, second-year player, key forward. Goda, second-year player. He's only played 1 game last year. Yeah, wow. This is a lot of wait and see, isn't it? This whole team is almost wait and see. This whole team is entirely predicated on upside. You know, Young and Dacos to outperform their price. Taylor to come outperform his price. Quaynor to make him the money because he's going to be the halfback, and Dacos is not playing halfback anymore. He's playing in the midfield. So he's seeing Quaynor is going to be the primary distributor of halfback. Yo to make the money. Neil, hot start to the year every year. So he's trying to bank on that as well. Petrarca. Jeez, this entire team is just cavalier. It's insane. And I am really keen to see what the hell you're going to do with this team. I know I'm rambling a lot, but this team has blown me away, man. I'm not even joking. I am so keen to see what happens with this.
If this isn't, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Facebook people saying delete your team, start again. But I feel like this is kind of either an autofill team or a, hey, how do we troll these guys while they do recordings type team? Because that's kind of what it feels like. If it's not, if this is your proper team, then congrats to you. You've actually done quite well with guys who you'd consider to be premiums or on the round the mark, that kind of thing. Like a Quaynor up to a Richards type deal could be, you know, a godsend there. A Taylor to like a Ridley if you have the cash, that kind of thing. 4 premium keepers in the midfield's quite good. No Bont kind of hurts. No Laird kind of hurts a little bit. We've spoken about Tukamilla and injury concerns, that kind of thing. But otherwise, the structure's okay. Yesterday's episode, we were talking about Holmes, kind of the situation that he's in with Geelong. So just a big wait and see during the preseason. There's a lot of risk there versus some other players. Winhager and Clark, you know, Winhager's supposed to be doing really well, but Clark's definitely a no for me, especially over someone like Ashcroft, who, if you don't have him and he goes big, you kind of lost Supercoach. Marshall's fine. DeConning, similar problems to Lycett there. If he doesn't work out, then he's struggling. And from all reports, Pittonet is already best 22, number 1 starter in that ruck line. And they've picked someone who's the number 2 at 412K. So definitely a rethink. Dunkley, obviously, is probably the most selected player this year. You have to have him, but the forward line kind of struggles after that. So I'd look at rebuilding stuff. I guess you've kind of got the skeleton of what you want, but there's a lot of money that needs to be reallocated across the field. And the benefit is you do have a lot of money in the bank. So I'd be looking at maybe putting some extra money into your bench. You do have a few guys who are very weirdly priced. So Harvey, I don't think will play very early. Jubilee, I'm not quite sure, but at a 102K, it gives you no flexibility to kind of go anywhere else. And the same with Drury there as well. So just kind of a rethink, see how you go, and wait for the preseason games to kind of give confirmation on a lot of players.
Yeah, this team is all or nothing, man. This team is you either are an absolute freaking genius who happens to have been a time traveler, gone forward in time, managed to see that these players are all going to go really well in the first week, and then came back and made the team. Or it could absolutely blow up in your face and you've lost Supercoach in week 1. So best of luck with that, Josh. So that brings this episode to a close. If you, like we said, if you won't cover this one, you'll be covered in future videos. So please stay tuned for those. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We are pumping up the content. More team reviews. Pracky games around the corner. We're going to watch them. We're going to give you our thoughts.
100%. And remember, guys, we've got our Supercoach group as well. I've been looking at the amount of people in the group, and we've hit about 180, 190. So that's 180 people. It's better odds than the lotto that you guys are going to win some fantastic prizes. So join in there. Got to like us on Facebook, like us on Twitter, follow us there, subscribe on YouTube, and join the group, and you're entered in. So pretty easy stuff. It's all free. You can win some amazing prizes.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, we do the hard work so you don't have to. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.